Okay, so this video I want to show a distinct difference in the 2.0 version, where we distinguish between players that are available to receive cards and live in the hand from players that have registered after the button has been placed. And so, for example, here, I pause between hands and it's telling me, I'm expecting you to set a new blind structure or at least basically place the button. So in other words, we're in the middle of the hand. We're in between hands, not in the middle of the hand. We're in between hands. And so if, let's say, for example, we register, let's say someone in seat 7 comes along and they register. So we haven't set the button yet. We've got things up. Only 3 players are registered in the game, and we're getting ready to go. But we haven't set the button yet. So seat 7 comes along, they register, boom, they're there, no problem. So we can actually now say, okay, we're going to start a hand. So we set the button on seat 3 here, and it says go ahead and start dealing the cards. So basically all the players that are green, like normal, if you start pitching them cards, they're going to receive, they'll receive cards. So, so there's seat 5's getting cards, seat 6 getting cards. Okay, seat 7's getting cards. So, seat 3 would get cards as well. But now for demonstration purposes, now, so the hand's clearly started. It's underway. If someone in seat 8, for example, comes along, okay, and they register, they show up in a sort of this grayish pink color. And if I were to try and deal them cards now, so let's try and pitch pitch cards to seat 8. Do that. They won't show up. They don't show up. They could, in this particular situation, they could, because the button is here. Seat 1 or seat 5 and seat 6 have paid the blinds. You can see that in the hand history here. Seat 5, seat 6, blind 1, blind 2, played 1 and 2. So they've paid up their blinds. This guy's under the gun. If you wanted to bring this guy in the hand, kind of as the hand's unfolding, you can actually do that. All you have to do is just click on them and activate them and bring them in the game. You have to tell the system how they're coming into the game. So clearly they're not buying the button here because they're not coming in between the button and they're not coming in between the small blind and big blind, basically. You might want them to post depending on the rules of the game. But let's say for argument's sake, in which case they would just come in, but they would also post the big blind. And posting and surrendering, I guess in some situations you might want them to surrender a small blind, which doesn't show up as part of their investment for the hand, but it does go into the pot, which is similar to buying the button, but you can post and surrender in different positions, and that depends on the rules of the house. But in this case, let's just have them come in. So they've come in. The system goes, oh, you're coming in, not in a position. If you was coming in and assuming the big blind, so let's say this person was coming, this seat was empty, and at the same time as we brought seat 80 in here, let's say we brought them in here, and we said come in, then it would have assumed the big blind. So it would have taken the big blind from here, and then given the big blind, basically refunded it back to this player. But the point is, they've come in the hand. We've clearly had to take action, and we would have noticed this because we would have dealt them a card, and it wouldn't have showed up here. And we would take explicit action to say, well, we want to actually bring them in into the hand. So now they're brought into the hand, and if we were to deal them cards, there you go. Now they show up, and let's deal seat 3 cards as well. And in this case, I actually wound up dealing the same set of cards to this player. So it doesn't know that all the hands have been dealt. Just because of the simulator environment, I'd have to pick right now in real time. I'd have to pick 2 live card codes in order to simulate this. So this is a good opportunity to show opening action. So let's say for argument's sake, we had a rogue player. This guy didn't want to scan his cards for some reason. Or maybe there was a dead card, bad card, so it's not getting picked up. We can force the action to be opened. and it's putting it in the right place, and then we can proceed with the hand. Okay. Okay, so this video is going to carry on from the last one, where the last one we had seat 8 who came in and registered after the button was placed. So from the system's perspective, once the button's placed, blinds are taken, the hand is live. Like, we're in a hand. So this player registered. They actually turned out they registered in a spot where they could actually just, in the natural flow of the game, become part of the game. So we clicked on them and we brought them in, and they received cards. Now I'm going to get totally crazy here. And let's say, for argument's sake, I don't know, player 8 decides he wants to leave the game. He's pissed off or doesn't like his cards and he's a jerk, and so he just hit unregister and he left. So I'm going to simulate that unregister. We're not going to actually allow that to break the hand. So you can see he's gone to 0. That's kind of a visual indicator that this person has left. There's not in the hand, but there's still part of the action, because you have to be able to take action. So clearly, if this player's left the game, they've folded their hand, and so we fold them out. If for whatever reason, let's say the player accidentally hit unregister, or let's say they unregistered, they wanted to change their player avatar while they were in the hand, like their name, not their avatar, but their handle. So they unregistered and registered right in the middle of the hand. It wouldn't ruin the action flow. This player stays in the hand until the hand is completed. So let's just see what happens if we just fold all the players here, fold them out, and then this is the last guy standing. So he's going to auto win, and we move on. So you can see at the conclusion of that hand, then this player was taken out of action. Okay, and now we're saying, oh, by the way, this player was felted, because from the system's perspective, it's no different than them getting knocked out. They've left the hand. So it's pausing and it's telling you, okay, we had this unusual situation. We got through a hand. This player left. But could you please tell me where the button is now? And it could be a scenario where, it's a dead small or a dead button. It's clearly not in this case, but because of that, unusual activity, the system, the controller carries on as if that player is still in the hand, and the operator has the opportunity to take normal action with that player. But then that is a reason for the system to pause in between that hand. And so in this case, we would just carry on with the hand in a normal operation, but we have to manually place the button this time because of that pause. But we just simply move the button on to seat 5 and we carry on. And let's say, for argument's sake, someone else came along into seat 8, and they've registered now. Okay, so we place the button, the hand's live, small blind and big blind have been taken. This guy's coming in. What do we want to do? You could have him sit out for this hand and wait, or you could just say, come on in. You could sit him out, say, just get out of my way. I don't want you here. I want you showing right now. There's really no reason to do that, but you could do that. I don't want to affect things. Or you could bring him in so he would get dealt into this hand. And in the next video, or in a future video, I'm actually going to show where this player is coming into, so let's say for argument's sake, this player was seated and it was small blind, big blind, and this player comes into the big blind spot. You can actually, when you say come in, they will come in and they will assume the big blind. And I'll show that in the next. Okay, so for this video, we're following on from the last video. I want to demonstrate the button has been placed. See here, the system is saying deal the cards. So what's happened, I can show you in the history. We have, I folded through the last hand. You can see that the last hand, seat 8 left. That's what happened. That's where we ended that last video. We folded through the hand, and the pot was awarded to seat 7. And then we moved the button, and small blind was taken out of seat 7, and over in seat 3, the big blind was taken. Okay, so, and it's saying we have a live button in seat 6. So live button, seat 6, small blind, big blind. Let's bring seat 8 in. Let's say for argument's sake, it's moved, but this player is now, we haven't actually started anything with the hand. So seat 8 comes in. So here's a neat spot where he's actually coming in between the small and the big. He can actually assume the big blind. So if you just say come in, he's coming into the big blind position. And so he will assume the big blind. So have you noticed, but there was a credit taken off of this, and this guy assumed the big blind. This guy's still the small blind. So the pot's still 3. If this guy's given a credit, he'll play the big blind in the next hand. So I'm just going to carry on with the hand. So let's deal some cards out. Okay, just for simplicity, I'm just gonna deal. Let's say for argument's sake, seat 6 didn't get his cards read. So I'll just force the action open. So the action's moved over to under the gun. So this player was the big blind. This guy assumed the big blind, so he's now under the gun. Let's say he folds. So we'll just fold through this action. Fold, so the big blind wins. Okay. Okay, so we're ready for the next hand. The button's moved to seat 7. This guy's now in the small blind. This guy's now in the big blind. You can check the hand history. You can see we folded all the way through. The pot of size 3 was awarded to seat 8. It was the guy who just squeaked into the big blind because everybody folded to him. And then we moved the button to seat 7, and seat 8 and seat 3 are small blind and big blind. So we just carried on. Okay, so that's a way that you can very fluidly and easily bring a player in, whether the hand is, alive or not. And then obviously the dealer has to use some discretion. I mean, surely there's some very bizarre situations, maybe where you even started dealing and the system is designed to handle that. You just reset the button and it'll rewind action, and you can basically rewind and restart a hand from anywhere. But in real world scenarios, this is the one we just demonstrated here.